He gets back in the room, we'll be back.
Okay, we are back from our executive session. No votes were taken, so our work session is now closed, and we will start our regular meeting. 7 o'clock? Yeah. So we'll do our call to order and roll call, please.
Mr. Barker? Here. Mr. Farley?
Here.
Mr. Brooms?
Here.
Dr. Houghton?
Here.
Mr. Rich?
Here.
Ms. Ray?
Here.
Ms. Goodwin? We have a quorum.
Okay, and tonight Dr. Houghton is going to do our invocation.
Holy One, we come before you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, transparent practices, and allow us to grow closer as a team while we nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that impact Folly Beach citizens and the community. Continue to remind us that we do and accomplish tonight what is expected of us for the greater pursuit of truth and for the service of humanity. We ask these principles in your name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll save the mayor's comments for later. And are there any staff reports?
Yes, ma'am. We have Andrew and/or Eric to give us an overview of a boat removal effort that ties into the resolution on the agenda later tonight.
So later on, there's a resolution asking for some funds to help us remove 2 vessels that have been in violation of the mooring ordinance since October of 2020. The easiest way is as you come on the island, are the 2 that are most visible, still right there to the right, between the boat landing and Mariners Cay. We're unable to locate owners. We've had them posted pretty much every 10 days since October of 2020. The money we're asking for is approximately $5,000, which is, as you know from past projects, is an extreme savings. And the way we're doing that is partnering with myself and Eric, Wounded Nature folks, and just some volunteers. We're going to be doing that with a 70-ton crane, cut the keels, putting them on flatbeds, and taking them to the local refuse center who's agreed to accept them at cost, basically. So if y'all are wanting to know anything else or have any questions, by all means ask. I'll tell you for sure, both from the state level of DHEC and everything, our efforts in our waterways is absolutely something that has been talked about all over the state. Regionally, it's something that I hear from people all the time. So our efforts are really made a difference, and I'd like to continue that.
These are the guys that you worked with last time, and it worked perfectly, right?
Yeah, they were the ones that helped us with the creek crawler,
Yeah.
which was kind of a sore in our side for quite a long time, constantly sinking and getting up, and that was not an easy project. It had been underwater so long, it was its own little ecosystem. It was literally the heaviest boat. I remember when I hooked up to it, and the minute we cut it from the ball, I was like, I regret this decision. It was massive. But anyway, we got it done, and it was a success for sure.
Mayor, we just finished staff report, so we're at approval of the agenda.
Give a second. Sorry, folks, I had to Zoom meeting with the Senate Redistricting Committee, so they started a little later than they were supposed to. So approval of agenda, I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A second. Call roll.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Brooms?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes. So we'll move into approval of the minutes from July the 13th. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second. Do you have any additions, corrections to the minutes of July the 13th?
Mr. Mayor, there was one, in relation to the boardwalk. Mr. Oliver's request to change the ingress and egress. The minutes reflect that it was Mrs. Ray that made the motion, with Mr. Rich, he made the motion.
Okay.
With that correction, that's all I have.
Any other corrections? Okay, so
All right.
we'll vote on it as amended.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Brooms?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
So we'll move into personal appearances, and Victoria, I will not try to ruin your last name.
It's okay, it's Denza.
Excuse me?
Denza.
Denza, okay. I would have messed you up. I'm sorry about that.
It's new, I'm still learning it too. Well, thank you so much for having us. My name is Victoria Denza. I'm with We Are Sharing Hope, South Carolina, and I have Chuck McGarrah from Charlestown Road Race Services. And we are grateful to talk with you tonight. The organization that I represent is the OPO for the state of South Carolina. So we are responsible for honoring the gift of life through organ, eye, and tissue donation. So when someone has said yes and is in the situation to be a donor hero, we honor that decision and make that gift possible, giving a second chance to those waiting on the gift of life. Every year we have a run, and so we are hoping to make the move to be able to have that event here in 2022. We had a virtual hybrid type event this year at Folly Beach County Park, and in the past it has been at James Acton County Park. So in terms of the organization, I'm here to answer questions about what we do, why we do it, and I have Chuck here to talk through the logistics of the actual event because he is the one with the experience there. So our hope is to have it here April 9th, 2022, and I will let Chuck talk through the specifics.
Okay, let me get, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions? All right, you wanna go ahead and make your spiel?
I've put on just about every major race out at Folly Beach, and I'm very privileged to be working with these guys. It's one of the best charities in South Carolina. They do a wonderful world of good for people that need transplants. My mom was one of them. And we're basically gonna use the Save Light course, which of course I'm involved with that as well, and nothing else is gonna change. And we'll clean everything up, bring it back the way it was. And tie up the roads a minimum amount of time. That's the most important thing.
And with approval from everyone here, we'll be able to partner with CCPRC on any additional logistics.
Any questions?
Great, thank you.
Hang on a second.
Sorry,
Mr.
just
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Brooms?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you, and thank you for the work you do.
thank you so much.
Thank you all for your time.
So we're up to Mr. Chuck McGarren. Did I get close?
Yeah, from,
Yeah, please.
do you mind if I remove it?
No.
No, don't
You-
remove it.
No, I don't mind you,
Yeah,
so we can hear you? Okay.
it's Bargeron.
Oh,
It's a little bit of a French Canadian, Canadian would be Bergeron. This is a Louisiana Bargeron.
okay.
Believe me, that's the kindest that it's ever been. All that. Chuck Bargeron, I'm with the World 1000. I'm the director for research and development of this race. This race, I'm from Tybee Island, Georgia, where I live with my wife, and I done so since '85. That is where I first saw this race and fell in love with it. And I told myself and a buddy of mine, I said, I don't know how or when, but I'm gonna be a part of this. And in 1986, and from then to now, I have been a part of it in many different ways. The job that I took on, I went to work for them as a race official, came up through the ranks. I actually started working with teams. I started managing teams. I went on to get my own team that participated in it. I've been on a team that's won this race, and my own team, we missed it by 1 minute and 42 seconds after 2 weeks of sailing a 1,000-mile race. The way this thing works is we start out of Hollywood Beach, Florida, and then we have a series of checkpoints per day. It's a race a day, every day, until we get into Virginia Beach, where the race officially started back in the early 70s as a barroom day. We are looking, I should say, in 2001, 2002, the race fell on hard times. I had since separated and went on to do other races in other areas and promote other teams. The race fell in financial problems and what. The owner of the race passed away in 2010. So for 17 years, this race lay dormant. Buddies of mine that we all came up through the race and what have you, got the rights of it from Mindy Worrell, and called me and they said, hey, you want to do this? And it was the horse that brought me, and it is my drug of choice. So I said, you bet. And I went on the road in 2017 and 18. I traveled 7,700 miles up and down this eastern seaboard, retracing all the checkpoints, all the locations and everything, and trying to better the race and make it easier. And as easy as the race was to do back in the early 70s and through the 80s and even the early 90s, it got tough because a lot of people had not ever heard of it. When you go in and they say, you want to do what? The format is simple. We want to add Folly Beach as the number 6 checkpoint on this race in May of 2022. The way it works is we go down to the water's edge, we set up flags, which we refer to as a gate. When the boats are coming, the flags are set apart, not very much of a distance unless there's a second boat and they're vying for the line. We go out into the water about knee deep to rear deep, and they cross through, they're scored their time, their ground crews catch the boat, they put it up on wheels, it's rolled up onto the beach where it's turned and parked for overnight stay. Once all the boats are in, they're parked. The sailors like to be within eyesight and stay of those boats because of how much they cost. We have international teams that are coming, they're flying across and sending their boats over here. We have several U.S. teams doing this. We need permission to come ashore, park those boats overnight. Next morning at 10 o'clock, the gate widens up, the boats are lined up, and the Le Mans start at 10 o'clock. They're gone, we pack up and we leave. We go to the next checkpoint, waiting on the boats to do the same thing over and over again until they finish in Virginia Beach. We are a 501(c) corporation based out of Florida. We are fully insured through U.S. Sailing. We come with our own staff, our own support, and we would like to add this location to this format.
Motion to discuss.
No, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second? You need a
Second.
Okay. You're up. You got a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Anybody got a question, comment?
How many boats? I know I've seen one thing for 18 and one for 20.
The size of the boats are 18-foot beach catamarans.
Yeah, that's cool.
There were 15 locked-in teams with 4 alternates. Due to some travel restrictions and also some overlapping regattas, some of these guys are national and world champions. There's even Olympic champions in this race. They have a conflict, so 3 teams dropped out. We brought on the 4 alternates, and right now there's 16 firm teams.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Well, the question I have is about the tides that day, we have enough high land right there to put them.
You do. We go above the high water mark. The way that they're lined up, we go up to the toe of the dune and back the boat up in that position right there. We also do this, we're also very, very fully aware of the turtle nesting season, and we have what's called the turtle park, where the boats are set firmly on the ground, the cat tracks are set up on the wheels, so it doesn't block any. Only one time in the history of this race that I know of, we had the turtles put a nest under a boat. Oh, everything was fine. We just picked the boat up and moved it. These boats are very easy to pick up and maneuver and things such as that. Ma'am?
I actually have a question of staff. I'd like the chief to speak to this. Have you been involved in any of the details and how this might impact anything with your operation or what we should do to ensure safety and security? I heard that they'll be staying overnight, possibly with their boats. I like that aspect.
Sure, I have not. I met Chuck here just briefly before, you guys started. I remember this coming up one other time, and I can't remember all the details, but my suggestion is really, in order to, I guess, emphasize staff's priority time, is unless y'all are interested in doing this, once you guys, if you say yes, then we can go with the, put the asterisks on it that it gets staff approval for logistics or anything that y'all want. If y'all are not interested, then obviously I got other things I need to be focused on. Not to be rude, I don't mean it like that, but.
No. I guess my only thing would be is, honestly, I'd be very supportive of it, but it would be contingent on that working
That's not a problem.
as a team and figuring out all the details.
I mean this respectfully. It's not my first rodeo. I've worked, besides this one, hopefully, I've worked with 12 other checkpoints. I take care of all of that, and I'm on that beach.
Well, I'm ready
If something goes wrong, they'll all point at me.
All right, I'm ready for the rodeo then, because this is exciting, and so as long as we
We're
do
ready to
that.
put on a show for you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
You got it.
Passes.
I did this for 20 years on Tabby. I was the code enforcement officer over there and the permit follower. I'd like to add one thing. I'd like to compliment you guys and the city and some of your employees here. From the moment that I walked into this building and asked to speak to somebody, Colleen Jolly came forward and what have you. And when I first spoke to her about this, she had a deer in the headlight look. And then all of a sudden the light went off and she went, I want to know more about this. She has been a hoot to work with. I look forward to working with her some more. I hope to see all of you on the beach in May of 22. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Burbidge. Allison Burbidge.
Property owners here.
Somebody else want to speak to this? Extension of the sewer line?
Yeah.
How you doing guys tonight? I'm Michael Rifford, with my partner.
And you live
Richard.
at?
Excuse me?
And you live at?
Oh, I live at 270 Little Oak Island Drive. This particular property we do own, we've had for quite a number of years and dabbled with different ideas. And we've decided to go ahead and go with what the district allows us to do. And we're gonna put up 2 single-family homes. They're just under 2,500 square feet. And they're gonna be catty corner on the lot. I'm sure y'all are very familiar with the lot. It's more or less across the street from the post office and where the old hardware store used to be. So we've got good sets of plans. I've met with Kevin Coffey, who has worked with Kyle in the past, and they're familiar. And what we'd like to do is, we've got a system designed that will not have to have septic systems that close to the water. So it's basically like a small miniature pump station, and it will be force-fed through a pipe that's not dug up in the street, it's not interlocked, it's got welding seams, and it is channeled underneath with a drill. So it's amazing the technology that they have. So it's a continuous line. It'll tie into the manhole that is directly behind the Catholic Church.
So do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Without a second, you're dead. And I think the reason being is because it's an extension of the sewer lines. And
Well-
historically, we have not extended sewer,
Yep, and it's not an extension.
but it is. The sewer doesn't go that far down, so you are extending the sewer lines by pumping it down the road. But without a second, you've
So I
been
guess
denied.
with, like on the west side, where I know that there has been small extensions added, and there has been changes and.
We haven't added any extensions since I've been here in 2002.
Okay.
No
There was
extensions.
an attachment to a manhole on that side. I can go ahead and dig through the city archives and bring that up to you.
Dig away,
There's only been 3 connections in the last probably 10 years,
dig away. But there's been no sewer extension.
even though we're bringing at our expense
We
directly
went to court, the state Supreme Court, because the people at the marina wanted to build 7 pump stations and a sewer line to give to the city at their expense, and we said, no, thank you.
These are
And
two
since then,
residential- two
since then, Mr.
residential.
Rifford, there's been no sewer extension, you've been denied. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Bridget and Jason Martin.
Bridget Martin, and I just closed, my husband Jason and I just closed on 11412 West Ashley, and we are requesting to connect to an existing sewer line. The lot, when it was listed, one of the draws was that it has sewer available on the Cooper side, according to the MLS listing. And then during the due diligence period, we reached out to the city through our realtor, and Anderson still confirmed that sewer was available on the lot. So we would like to go ahead and pursue that with your permission. We are still working through our building plans, but we expect to build about a 4-bedroom house with 3,000 square feet on that lot.
Any motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions? And I'll make this comment, that it is tying into an existing sewer line, that you're in between other people who are already tied into a sewer line, for all the folks at home to know.
I looked up all the meeting minutes
Yeah.
from 2015 to
Okay.
see.
Any other
the form of
questions,
lot.
comments? Mr. Pope?
Mr. Brooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton? Yes. Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
No.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll move on to citizen comments.
John McFarland, 1780 Chelwood Circle. I want you to know that I've been working on this particular project for months, and I put it off because I wanted to personally tell you about it before I go forward. I didn't think it would be right otherwise. The ever-increasing number of short-term rentals in the single-family district, to me, represents an existential threat to the entire community. Short-term rentals, STRs, are not just on the beachfront anymore. They are now displacing residents everywhere on the island. In my opinion, without any changes to the zoning regulations, in 20 years, most of these properties are gonna actually be converted to STRs. I've been here a long time, I've watched the island, and that's what I think will happen. The goal, I'm gonna highlight this problem by establishing a neighborhood association called Save Folly's Future. There's one and only mission to this, and that's to advocate for policies that are gonna reverse the population decline on the island. We may be growing, but not on the island. The goal of Save Folly's Future is to convince both you, the council, and Folly's residents to turn the clock back about 10 years. 10 years ago, tourists were housed mostly on the beach, and residents occupied the rest of the island. I think it was a good balance, and I think we're completely out of balance now. Save Folly's Future will advocate for change publicly. We will raise the alarm first by mass mailing, everybody will get one, highlighting the dangers, in my opinion, of what STRs are doing to most of the, mainly single-family zone, which is what I'm focused on. We will have an educational website, we'll conduct surveys, engage community support, and opposition for STRs. We're gonna provide information about over-tourism in other cities. Lots of cities have problems. We should know that we're not the only ones. And publish newsletters and updates on the issue. In September, we will send a mail-in survey to every registered voter with one question. Question, do you want STRs in the single-family district, 1, to remain unchanged, 2, prohibited completely, 3, limited to a maximum number of licenses, and 4, be restricted to a smaller area within the district, for instance, just along the beach. It'll be interesting about that question. I'd like to tell you that when these things go out, there will be 2 surveys. One survey will be mailed to me, and an extra copy is going to be sent to you, Mr. Mayor, at City Hall. So I will get, and so will the city, some idea of what every registered voter thinks about this, and then it should be interesting from there. Finally, we will advocate for policies that will protect.
Mr. McFarland, your time is up.
Thank you for your cooperation. And your,
I'll just make a comment here that it seems to be, your timing is impeccable after I already started a short-term rental committee to study this matter. So Ms. Gerling has spent multiple hours doing it. I know you attended the committee meeting, so.
I just want to say, I think we're on the same page. I had planned to do this for a long time, and I'm going to try to sync it with what you're doing, and I hope we all ultimately line up with the same goals. Thank you.
Any other comments? Citizen comments? Okay,
I just wanted to introduce myself.
step on up.
Should I? Okay. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Emily Brown, and I am, have applied to be on the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I just wanted to be here to introduce myself and to see if anybody had any questions.
Give us your address, please.
208 East Huron.
Thanks. Just for the
Been
record.
here, yeah, been here forever. Since
No.
'86.
Anyone have any questions, Ms. Brown?
Thank you for your email. It was very informative,
Okay.
a very nice introduction, just kind of giving a little background. It's always nice when we get those, get a little background on people who are appointed to these committees, so thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay, any other? So we're up to Ms. Gerling.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a request from Planning Commission. It was kind of initiated by staff to relook at the tree ordinance. Some lots have been cleared recently, and by cleared I mean completely clear cut, and staff has gotten a lot of comments and questions and concerns about those lots, and so it kind of had us looking at the tree ordinance. I would love to look at it from a way that we can leverage more from a stormwater management perspective. Trees are our biggest asset for floodplain management and stormwater management, from sucking all the water back up and then preventing it from even touching the ground. So that is the easiest, greenest way to increase our capacity for water. Not looking to make pine trees protected, but maybe have a mitigation fee for them. So maybe it'll have people think twice before completely clear cutting a lot. Maybe we retain, 8 or so trees, or if they want to clear cut, it'll go into the city's tree mitigation fund, and then we can use it in ways on city property to increase some stormwater retention. So that's, Planning Commission has requested you guys to remand the tree ordinance back to them, and so staff can spend some time doing some research and get some public comment. I'll take any questions.
Any questions? tree ordinances have been redone about as many times as the noise ordinance. Not quite, but almost.
I just don't know if it's been done from the environmental stormwater.
There you go. I'm not
Yeah.
complaining, I'm just saying.
I know, I've heard.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? No other boards or commission reports? So we'll move into old business, ordinance 25-21, ordinance to amend 72 parking regulations, the Folly Beach Code of Ordinances by amending section 72.09 boat landing rules to reserve boat trailer parking 7 days a week per the request of the Charleston County Parks and Recreation Commission. This is the second reading. To have a motion for approval. Have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Mr. Rich,
No.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mayor Goodman,
Yes.
passes.
Ordinance 26-21, ordinance chapter to amend chapter 111 alcoholic beverages to clarify the definition of an alcoholic beverage to encompass all types. The second reading, have a motion for approval.
Smooth.
Have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Yes, I have one. On page 27, section 111.04, letter C, it states beverages containing 0 alcohol as a percentage of weight are allowed on the beach in cups. Just wanted to make mention and see if it was our intent to exclude non-alcoholic beer, so something like an O'Doul's has 0.4% alcohol by weight, which according to, I believe, South Carolina state law, anything under 0.05% is considered to be a non-alcoholic beverage.
I think this, the way this is rewritten, if you have any alcohol in the beverage at all, which includes some hard seltzers, they're not allowed on the beach.
Yeah, I understand with regard to hard seltzers, they have as much alcohol as typical light beer or regular beer, but in the context of a non-alcoholic beverage, again, which is 0.4%.
This says any alcoholic beverage, so any alcohol in the beverage would be under this ordinance.
In which I'm not clear if that's consistent with state law, which I believe defines a non-alcoholic beverage as under 0.5.
I don't think state law defines beer as an alcoholic beverage. So, I mean, you know, this is a city ordinance, so we can go above and beyond state law. We can't go less than state law, but we can go beyond, more strict than state law. Any other comments? Questions? Mr. Pope?
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
passes.
Ordinance 27-21, an ordinance adopting the 5-year update to the 2015 City of Folly Beach Comprehensive Plan. Have a motion for, this is the first reading, excuse me, have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Okay,
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
yes. Okay, who's keeping score? Just you? Okay. So, Mr. Pope, we'll call out your name. You can vote for 2 members to fill the 2 vacancies. We have 3 applications.
Mr. Grooms,
Brown Rosen.
Ms. Ray,
Brown Rosen.
Mr. Farley,
Brown Rosen.
Dr. Houghton,
Brown Parker.
Mr. Barker,
Brown Rosen.
Mr. Rich,
Brown Rosen.
Mayor Goodwin,
Brown, Parker.
Brown, and Rosen.
Rosen is 1. Okay, Ms. Brown, I guess congratulations.
Welcome to the party.
Welcome aboard. Maybe not. Thank you. Ordinance 22-21, ordinance amending chapter 164, use standards, section 16404, general development and operational standards for accessory structures, section 16405 through 06, specific regulations for certain temporary uses and structures, chapter 166, development standards, section 166.05-03, single and two-family design standards, 166.05-04, multifamily design standards, and 166.05-05, commercial design standards, by regulating shipping containers for residential and commercial uses in a safe and aesthetically pleasing manner. First reading, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments, concerns, questions?
Yes,
Okay.
actually a couple. So beginning with page 34, letter B3. I understand we struck the language 30 days total or no more than 3 separate occurrences per calendar year and replace that with 90 days. I would like to make the recommendation, something to the effect of 90 days following which the site must be clear of any portable shipping container for a 30-day period.
Well, you need to you're gonna make a motion to amend it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to amend it, and I'll begin once again. So following the word 90 days, motion to amend, which would read, 90 days following which the site must be clear of any portable shipping container for a 30-day period. Exclusions for active permitted construction sites. And the reason for that.
Need a second.
Okay, sorry.
Do I have a second for motion? for
Second.
amendment? Okay.
It's kind of, your question's kind of answered in number 5, isn't it? After the 90 days, it's considered an accessory structure, so it would have to disappear. Instead of adding extra language, I mean, it's already covered. After 90 days, it would, either it follows the rules of an accessory structure or it has to go. So I mean, it's kind of, it's there. Am I wrong in that?
I think what Adam's trying to prevent is from someone having a shipping container there for 90 days, removing it for a day, and then putting it back on the lot for 90 more days.
Correct.
It's like over and over and over again.
So they have a vendor comes out with the truck, gets it off the property, takes a picture that it was removed from the property, places it back.
So he's
90.
having like a 30-day
Okay.
waiting period.
So which the site shall be cleared for a minimum of 30 days. Will you add minimum of 30 days in it?
Yes,
I mean,
I accept that.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, it's gonna be a structure, but if it's not gonna be a structure, immediately.
The loophole is, well, let me just remove it at day 89 and then
Bring it
put it
back.
back at day 91 and the clock starts over. I think that's the loophole that you're trying to close.
Well, you might not do that at 89, though, see, there again.
And then
Right.
again, I mentioned.
We're no more.
That's another thing. They can do it on the 85th day. They can move it for a day and then, never mind. Go ahead. I see what you're doing. I just don't,
Yeah.
I don't think it's tighten it up as much as you
No,
want to.
I see where you're saying, but, so it could be for a period, let's see, just thinking about it that way, shall be on the site for, no more than a 1 to 90-day period in any one.
12-month rolling period.
One. 12 months.
Rolling period.
I'm also comfortable with that. Well, and I did mention about the exception being for an active permitted, sort of ongoing construction site where there's storing.
That can create a bigger loophole than anything, because as long as you have a permit, you can constantly say it's an active construction site and get out of that. It should have to have a staff recommended exemption or something like that, if that's how you want to do it, just so they can't say, oh yeah, we're still working on it, our permit's good for this long, it can stay there. Kind of defeats what you're trying to do in my mind. So I'm just, if you're gonna put it in there, let's make sure it tightens up the loopholes.
Well, you can just say, I've lost part of what you could just say, but it would be for the, with the exception of a staff-approved, continuous construction site. Building, building code official approved continuous construction
I
site.
sense Eric wants to weigh in. No, okay, just adjusting your glasses, getting comfortable.
I think you're on the right track.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted it specified staff.
That's good, okay, that's good.
And there's also no mention in this section.
Wait a minute,
Sorry.
one at a
Okay,
time,
yep.
so we don't really get confused. So now that we got Mr. Pope totally confused over here with what we've said, we're gonna let him read back his shorthand.
So, can't be allowed on an individual parcel or site for no more than 90 days in a rolling 12-month period, except for active construction sites as approved by the building official.
I think it's 1 in 90 days in a rolling 12-month period. Yeah, except for the construction site approved by the building official.
So,
That's what I have.
Okay, so, do we all have that? You wanna read it again, just because?
no more than 1 to 90 days in a rolling 12-month period, except for on active construction sites as approved by the building official.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on Mr. Barker's amendment to the ordinance.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Excuse me, yes.
So it passes.
So we're back to the original ordinance, you got another one?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I'm not certain where this would be placed. I think perhaps in the same section. There's also no mention of how many portable shipping containers may be on one site at a given time. I'd like to think it would be one, but what if someone wanted that half a dozen? They had a need to? Do we want for that?
Okay, so we could put it right there in the same place. No more than one portable printing.
I mean, if your house floods out and you need to put a couple of shipping containers, put all your stuff in, like get your floor redone, we shouldn't let something like this stop them from a truly temporary status, correct? Eric?
I think that where you're going with that, DJ, would have to apply to a project like a pier renovation, or if it ties to renovation extensively, or a big project like that, you could have upwards of 5 or 6 necessary for that permitted job. So if there's a way to tie that again to an active permit, that might be.
So, Mr. Lutz, is it worthwhile to say that essentially you work with them? And are we getting into too much detail that limits the needs of someone that might be out of?
If you guys keep going the way you're going with it, tying it to an active permit with
Well,
the city, somehow
okay.
that's good.
Well, right now, we're not, actually, with the words, you know, you're technical with the words, it says one
Right.
storage container can be placed, so, I think to get what Mr. Barker's talking about, or what you're talking about, we'd have to go to number 6 and say, if more than one storage container is needed for an active construction site, it has to be cleared with the building official.
True.
Just keep adding on to Eric.
That's all part of the permit.
Well, he's got all kind of help now. Okay, so that would, under section 164.05, B6.
And I've got
05.
05-06.
Yeah,
number
05-06,
P,
right.
number 6.
Yeah, sound like a bingo game.
I've got, if more than one shipping container is needed, placement must be approved by the building official.
That's close, yeah.
Can I just, just for clarity's sake, suggest that B, the very first part there,
Mhm.
subsection B, you just put in the word in a single, temporary storage in a single portable shipping container, in addition to what you just suggested. Because it's not real clear there what you want. And if we're gonna make it a single one, let's put that in there. Just for clarity.
Well, let's
see
do
what I'm
that,
saying?
let's do that after we do number 6, because that's changing another section.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so just on number 6,
And who-
amendment to add number 6.
and who, I'm sorry, who seconded the motion? Or-
I'll do it.
All right. Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
I'm sorry,
This is number 6, adding number 6. We have to
I
have more
didn't
than one.
second that.
No,
No.
he's taking the vote.
I'm
Bill
sorry.
seconded.
Call him the roll.
Mr.
Oh,
Carter
call the
seconded.
roll already, oh, no.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Barger?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, so to go back to Mr. Wilson's comment, and then 164.05-06B, temporary storage in add the word single portable shipping container, blah, 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 blah. Add that one word, single. Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
No.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, we're getting there.
You got another one?
Keep going, yeah. Scrivener's error number 4, must be, should be stricken before shall be.
Wait a minute, hold it.
Well, funny you should say that, because planning commission recommended an amendment to that, if you look at your memo. Planning commission has 3 amendments that they recommended to council that are not reflected in this ordinance, they're only on the memo. So, I don't,
So they intended for must be, shall be?
no, I'm just saying, it will be, the scrivener's error might not matter if you like their amendment. That's one thing, so understood.
Thank you. And one final, which is on same page, C7. I'll read this quickly. Shipping containers and the like, any shipping container or other similar modular component used in the construction of a residential structure shall be finished in a manner typical of residential structures, including at a minimum painting and the removal of any and all logos, brands, lettering, and advertisement from the exterior surface. I would like to add, make a motion, at the end of that sentence, unless a functional requirement, the shipping container should be oriented such that its doors are not street facing. Make it look less like a shipping container.
Which section was that on?
So that is going to be
166.05-03.7.
correct, in red.
So just pertain to the single and 2-family design standards,
And
not to the multifamily or the commercial. Just
and-
wanna,
And anywhere else that it would be appropriate, if adding on to a similar sentence.
planning commission had a pretty extensive conversation about what you were saying. It was not articulated.
Wait a
think-
minute, hold it.
Okay. I
So-
think they
so I
had
got,
that.
hang on, I got a motion, I don't have a second yet. So, unless a functional, what'd you say,
Want to
unless
reread
a
that?
functional, yeah.
Yes.
You got them written down, you might just wanna give me Andrew to get,
Okay.
Aaron, excuse me.
So I'll reread it and then I can
Yeah.
get it to Eric, or
If you
Aaron
get a
rather.
second. What? If you get a second.
Correct, but he wanted me to reread it?
Yeah, read it so that I
Yeah.
can see if I can get a second.
Unless a functional requirement, the shipping container should be oriented such that its doors are not street facing.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
okay, now we can have a discussion on it.
Isn't this a little too much?
I don't think so, cause I think when you look at the doors, that's what it is, a shipping
Just-
container, unless they're screened. Unless you put up a screen for them.
Oh.
My only concern with that, the way it was just said, it's a little too, need a little more black and white for enforcement perspective.
Because functional necessity is
It's
a little
too
gray.
wishy-washy, I think, for us to have to figure out on a case-by-case basis.
Well, if you approve it as the garage in your building plans, then the functional is you're gonna have to open the door to the street.
Right. Whereas if it's a pool, maybe the doors could be on the back side of that, the shipping container.
It seems like it could give us some problem on our enforcement side.
So what do you think would tighten it up for enforcement?
Have a screening requirement of some kind to hide it, possibly.
But if it's gonna, here I go again, if it's gonna be a door to a garage, you can't really screen it.
You can do an overlay of some kind, of bamboo, I mean, we can do anything really, but you could put an overlay of bamboo over it, or planks, or. seen some-
Okay, well,
I just don't want to get the situation.
Mr. Barker wants to, he can amend it and say, shall not be street facing unless screened as approved by the building department.
I'm comfortable with that.
Does that sound reasonable to you? We just gotta make sure we can enforce it for that.
Yeah, hang on a second. I want to see how long you hold your hand up.
I'm back in school, I'm like,
To add a screening requirement?
I think that seems more manageable.
Okay.
no, fine. It might be manageable, but you have the experience. Is it reasonable? Does it make sense? And again, I'm not one to sort of do something and then create other problems. So I need your feedback to tell me the execution of this before I totally understand that this is something.
Well, he could, as a business official, say, okay, we're gonna make it functional. You take those two swing doors off and put up a garage door, an overhead garage door that rolls up like a regular garage.
Why? Why? I'm looking for you, why?
Just because it doesn't look like a street shipping container, that's why.
I think the last version.
I mean, if you don't care what it's shipping, if it looks like a shipping container and you don't care if it gets painted or logos still stay on the side of it or whatever.
I mean, we've already got so many other things to make it blend in and everything. I just think we're getting a little too narrow here. This is getting a little wacky. But y'all go ahead.
Okay, any other comments?
I'm comfortable with the last.
So what did you have now, Mr. Pope?
First question is this just a motion for the single and two-family standards, or also can it loop in
He said
multifamily?
anywhere to apply,
All right.
so it loops in everywhere.
Yeah, and I believe I saw that to be on page 35, letter H, and number 3, both also in red.
Yep.
Planning Commission had that similar conversation, and it was determined that because we have a design review board for the commercial district, that they would have the authority to review all of that, and so the single and two family is, I think, probably the most appropriate place.
Well, the only problem with that is if we give them the guidelines to make their authority by, then they have something else to go on.
True. We're also keeping Folly funky. So I just, it's up to you guys.
So for process, this is the original recommendation. This is this is not new territory for you, so.
Planning Commission was only concerned about the residential district staying residential, and then a commercial district having commercial-looking shipping containers was okay because it's a commercial district.
Okay.
That's where Planning Commission stands.
All right, well, we're back to Mr. Barker's amendment.
And he's gonna give me the exact language, but unless a functional necessity, shipping container doors should be oriented away from the street, unless screened appropriately as approved by the building official.
That's where you are right in a second. Pretty much.
Mr. Brooms?
No.
Dr. Houghton?
No.
Ms. Ray?
No.
Mr. Rich?
No.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
That amendment fails.
Yep. Any others?
No.
Any other amendments? Okay. As amended several times, ordinance 22-21.
Mr. Brooms?
Yes. That's good hearing.
Sorry. Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
No.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
passes.
Ordinance 23-21, ordinance amending 164 use standards, section 164.03-03, commercial uses to require restroom and trash receptacles for commercial parking lots. And the new materials in the red, this is the first reading. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions, comments?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I think with this one, I really like the trash cans and that language, number 4 and 5. I don't know that we need restrooms, facilities, if they're not serving food and beverage. I think there are a good many options for restrooms in the surrounding areas.
Well, that's the reason why we put restrooms out there, because the options for restrooms in the surrounding areas would like for their customers to use their restrooms and have some other opportunities for folks who are walking up and down the street. So let's just give other people opportunities, a place to use if all the other places are filled up. That was
Well,
why.
there's something at 2 East, and, there are some other, I don't, and maybe if it's something that we need, if the rest of these ordinances don't fix the problem, maybe you add it back in.
Well, are you making a motion to take them out?
Yeah, I'll make an emotion to delete, let's see, section 16403, section B, delete number 4, remove that.
I'll second.
No,
No, I don't think that's
you're not in the right spot.
Am I not in the right spot?
Be number 3.
number 3.
Number 3, yes, sorry, not number 4, yes, I was number 4, sorry, yes, delete number 3.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Mr. Pope?
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms,
No.
Dr. Houghton,
No.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
No.
Mayor Goodwin.
No.
The motion fails.
Just for clarification, Mr. Grooms, you seconded that?
I did, and I'd like to change my vote.
Okay.
Yeah, it's late.
No, we got it.
You don't have to
So change
vote
it from
for
no
it.
to yes?
Well, I do want to vote for it. I'm going to say yes to the amendment. I was thinking about
No, it's already on record. We're good.
No, it's a long day.
Thank you, Councilmember Rich.
All right, so
Yeah,
that,
thank you.
that would make the motion pass.
Yeah, so let's please clarify.
We've already voted and moved on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute.
So it's not a deed.
If you want to change your vote, you're going to have to do it. We're going to have to come through the whole process. You're going to have to go to Mr. Pope and say, I want to change my vote, and we're going to have
Okay.
to go back through the process the right way.
Okay, Mr. Pope, I'd like to change my,
No,
No, that's not
writing
the right way.
tomorrow.
or tomorrow in writing, okay.
We're gonna have to come back in here later this week.
Joe, is there no alternative to that?
Pardon?
Is there no alternative to that?
My recollection is if he misunderstood what the vote, did you misunderstand what the vote was?
I
Sorry.
thought we were voting on the entire amendment, so.
I believe he can correct it. I mean, since it was immediately, he misunderstood.
Well, it wasn't immediate. Mr. Rich hadn't brought it up.
Kicking myself.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it when I said it, and I was like, I think I voted wrong.
I don't have the Robert's Rules of Order in front of me, but
Clearly, he seconded it. He
Well,
misunderstood.
But you don't have to vote for something.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you don't have to, you can make an amendment, or a motion. You don't have to vote for the motion you make, but you cannot speak against the motion you make. That's guarantee you. That's in Robert's Rules of Order, I guarantee you, because I got called that. I mean, not.
I got you.
Call it, I'm just
It's,
saying.
I mean, I don't have the, it's that thick, so I don't have it.
All right, so it passes.
Okay, passes.
Did you remove the restroom from that one?
Okay, so, well,
We're going,
I thought it
the
failed.
amendment
it-
failed.
in my, okay, so again, but in my
Count the vote.
experience,
Who voted for the amendment?
So it'd be Barker, Farley, and Ray, and then Mr. Grooms corrected his vote, which would make it pass.
after we had
Yeah,
moved
okay.
on, I mean, it's a technicality, but
But Joe's saying if he caught it, he caught it immediately, thanks to DJ.
I think our clerk has something to say.
According to Robert's rules, he can move to AC vote and rescind it.
Say that again?
He can move to hasty of a vote and it rescinds it back, according to Robert's rules. He can move to too hasty of a vote and it rescinds the vote back,
that,
according to Robert's rules.
Well,
If-
and the other alternative is what?
We'll meet tomorrow.
No. No, he has to put it in writing and then you have to have a schedule and all that. So, according to Wes, you're saying if he said that was too hasty a vote, I screwed up, I gotta do it again?
Yeah.
Okay. That's essentially what he said after DJ called him down.
So it's been passed now, so the number 3 is completely taken out. So parking lots that
Right.
do not, sir, have food and beverage establishments, do not have to have bathrooms. I just wanna make sure I get straight what you guys have done.
Yeah.
So they don't have to have bathrooms on them.
If they do not have food and beverage.
Okay. I just make sure I send the people the right people.
Yeah, okay.
It's ridiculous.
Here we go, back to the ordinance.
And there's one recommended amendment by the planning commission.
What, to put shrubbery in there?
Yeah, instead of fencing, have a bench shrubbery.
Yeah, but I thought we had a staff meeting the other day and said that we thought the fencing was better because it was a specific
Oh, indeed, I
vertical,
think fencing would
vertical
be.
marking, so we don't have to,
No, I was just calling it.
Yeah.
It's not around the bathrooms anyway.
okay?
All right?
Back to ordinance 23-21 as amended.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
No.
Dr. Hook,
No,
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms,
Yes.
Mayor Goodman,
No,
passes.
as amended, okay? 24-21, ordinance amending chapter 164, use standards, section 164.03-03, commercial uses to require restroom and trash receptacles for lots with outdoor retailers. These are lots that
Have food and beverage
have
sales.
food and beverage sales.
Planning Commission has one recommended amendment that if there are more than 2 vendors, that there should be at least 2 restroom facilities.
I'll make a motion, we approve the ordinance.
second,
I don't particularly agree with the planning commission's recommendation. I think then you're creating too much. You know, you have too much on top of each other. The restrooms are a vital thing, but of course I had this written down before the last amendment. But if you have too many on there, if you have to have a restroom for every ice cream cart, you know, you're gonna end up, like the lot right here next to us, you're gonna have 4 bathrooms over there. That's
Right.
overkill.
If nobody makes that motion,
I know, I was just
Yeah.
bringing it up that I don't know, if somebody went to make that motion, that's why I'm against this, just that will be overkill if you have to have one per F and B location. The only thing I wanna bring up is in number 8, letter B, where we say screening enclosures must be approved by DRB. There's only 2 or 3 different designs they could actually really do as far as screening goes. I don't want that clogging up DRB. I'm sure that would be just fine on the staff level to say, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's not like they're gonna have 20 different designs or come up with something crazy. There's only gonna be a few.
so you're,
I make a motion that number 8, letter B, you scratch DRB and put by staff.
okay,
So, Mayor, all of our lots with outdoor vendors are in the commercial district, so we would send them normally, so we would normally send them to the DRB for that sort of thing. So if we make that amendment, we'd be giving a DRB power to staff, if you wanna do that to streamline things. But generally speaking, You know, if they just did this on their own free will, and wanted to put a restroom and screen it, we would send it to the DRB, because it's in the commercial.
Okay. Any other comments?
Confused
I
now,
never
sir.
got a second.
That is the way it is. If we do it like this, the screening does go to DRB in the commercial district.
Right, yes, sir, but if this ordinance didn't exist and they walked in tomorrow and said, we wanna put up
Still
support
not
bodies and
second.
screen them, we would send that to the DRB.
Oh, did you? Oh, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
So would you, Mr. Rich, would you feel more comfortable with, one less restroom, or like, where are you headed with this?
I'm looking at it as a timeline standpoint for one as well. You know, with these lots, you're talking about January 1st being an effective date, so they're gonna have to get on it to get somebody to design something, get with people, get bids on what they wanna do, draw something up, and then go through the DRB process. Well, let's say they go to DRB one time, let's say DRB can't meet immediately, and it takes them a month to get a DRB meeting. And then when they meet with the DRB, oh, they have questions about this, so it goes back to the drawing board. They won't meet the January 1 deadline. You're putting something, really, it should be something that's very simple, that staff should be able to look at and be like, yeah, man, that's fine. You know, it's not like you're putting a mural up, you're painting a wall, you know, you're doing this, that, and the other. It's something very basic. And I'm sorry, I feel very comfortable with our staff saying, oh, yeah, that'll be fine. So that way it speeds the process up a little bit so they can get things in accordance by our January 1st date. You make business owners jump through too many hoops, and it's just not fun.
I think it was kind of discussed at the staff level that if, there could be like 2 or 3 pre-approved DRB, that, it wouldn't be giving over DRB powers. So, if, you know, in the November or December meeting for DRB, if, staff can present them with 2 or 3 options that people can choose from, that are DRB approved, and staff just says, check. I think that could be a happy medium.
You gotta do it, per Mr. Rich's comment, you gotta do it before November, December, because you got to get, what you're talking about, you gotta get approval, and then they have to vote on it more than one time, right?
Yeah.
So they have to vote on it twice.
It could be accelerated
Yeah,
review.
so what Katie's suggestion isn't necessarily an approval for any specific one, is going to them in October, November, December, saying, guys, do you approve these?
I got you, but what I'm saying
That
is,
doesn't require 2 votes.
but what I'm, okay, so you can do it with one vote,
Right, yes.
but then you gotta come back to the people and say, okay, now you gotta go get somebody to do this. And the way getting construction workers out here these days is tough, and materials is tough. So January the 1st, you can't go beat them on the head if they don't have their screen up.
This doesn't have to be January 1st, by the way. I mean, most of these mobile vendors aren't here January or February. They don't get here until March or April. So you can also back that timeline up. I know that's a separate amendment, but just throw it out there as well. This doesn't have to be so fast.
But right now.
Something's gotta give.
But right now, I'm just thinking about what you said really rings a bell, because, I mean, I know people that can't get gravel delivered, much less wood delivered.
I can barely get food delivered.
Well,
I mean, come on, everything is taking longer.
all right, so let's get back on line here. So we're got an amendment that's been made and seconded to remove the word DRB from 8B and insert the word staff. That's what we're voting on, that's what we're talking about.
All right.
Call roll.
Mr. Farley?
No.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
It's done.
Boom.
Okay, so we're back to the original motion as amended. Any other amendments or questions?
So I believe one other comment that DJ made was the number of restrooms as a function of how many vendors not wanting to have.
Just leave it alone.
It's only one required
There's only
now.
one required right now. Planning commissions was to add a different restroom for every different vendor.
No.
That's overkill.
Planning Commission's recommendation was that if there were more than 2, then there would have to be at least 2 restrooms. So it's not a 1-to-1. So if you have 4, you would be required to have at least 2. You could have 7.
But
Depends on
presently,
your
we
lot.
have one required.
In the ordinance as written, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. So in a site like the one we have beside City Hall, where there are, I believe, 4 vendors and, I don't know, could potentially be more added, I would
No,
like to
it can't.
see.
4 is the max.
Four is the
Four's the
max.
max.
For the zoning, yeah.
I think 2 in a location like that would be, would better suit the community's needs than the 1.
Okay, so what you gotta propose a motion to read 8G.
I'd like to make a motion.
Let me find it.
Yeah, it should be 8. To read at least 1 restroom facility, if the property has more than 2 vendors, there should be at least 2 restroom facilities. Basically, Adam?
Yes, if it has more than 2. So if it had 2, 1 would suffice, but if it has more than 2, do you think?
More
we
than
should-
2 is what it states, yes. That's planning commission's.
Okay, so we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments other than what we've heard already? I just think personally 1 is enough to start with. If we see that's not gonna make the thing, just my personal opinion, if that's not gonna make the thing work, we can always come back and amend an ordinance. As Mr. Peoples would say, we have a do-over option, but that's just my personal opinion.
We can also do that on the commercial parking requiring restrooms.
Yeah, well, that'll be coming back.
Dr. Houghton,
No,
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Brooms,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
No.
Mayor Goodwin,
No. It passes.
Pat.
Thank you. All right, so back to the original ordinance 24-21 is amended. Any other amendments? Okay, 24-21 as amended.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Brooms,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
yes.
Mayor Goodwin.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Gurley. Are you getting tired of standing up there tonight?
No.
Oh, okay. Do we have any resolutions for you to get up with? Okay. Resolution 29-21, a resolution by Folly Beach City Council adopting the 2021 local comprehensive beach management plan for the city of Folly Beach. We might have one for you. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second? Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. Houghton.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Brooms,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
Pat.
Resolution 30-21, a resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing the administration to spend up to $5,000 from the special projects reserve to pay for the removal of 2 derelict vessels through the partnership with Wounded Nature. Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
This will be the last 2 inside of the bridge, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Brooms,
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
Pat.
And thank you to Wounded Nature and Rudy Socia and all those guys. Resolution 31-21, a resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing city staff to purchase a Lucas 3 chest compression system in the amount of $20,594.01. Okay, so we have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Yes. Could I ask the chief, just for clarity, could you shed a little bit more light on what the $4,500 is for? And the second question is, did this go out to bid, or was it a sole source purchase?
No, it was a sole source purchase. I can't speak for the original bid. That was handled by Robert Wagenbrenner and Debbie Chief Bird. I believe, my understanding, the additional $4,500 was for the 8-year warranty period, and that covers maintenance, upkeep, any warranty repairs. Obviously, this being a device that you don't want to go down when you need it. To me, it seemed, it's such an expensive piece of equipment, it made sense.
Thank you.
Could you just inform me at least as far as how this truly serves and protects our community and why we're doing this?
Sure, so basically, proper CPR and effective CPR is obviously a huge way to save lives. And this Lucas device is a machine that does exactly that. It's strapped on a victim or somebody's having those issues, needs chest compressions. And it frees up, because what we do now is called rapid CPR, so it requires lots of staff and we're rotating people through. It's very tiring, it's hard to do. So this is a way to add a machine to the body while they're doing other things like intubation, pushing drugs, things of that nature. And this machine is automating the CPR, so it's done perfectly every time.
Chest compression.
Chest compression.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Dr. Barker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passed.
Resolution 32-21, resolution by Folly Beach City Council awarding the contract for services described in RFP 04-21 for the development of a communication strategy and website refresh. Have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Fails.
Now I got a second. So,
No. Good.
hmm?
Good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so I knew that y'all were talking about earlier, wanting to maybe bring a couple of these back.
Yes.
Okay, so if you do want to do that, you need to give that information. Let's kill this one, because we're not awarding it.
Okay.
We're not awarding it. And then you make a motion to bring in whichever ones you want to bring in for a final interview.
I thought we had to have a second for discussion of that process.
Yeah.
Well, you can discuss it that way if you want to, but you still got to kill this one.
Okay.
So everybody understands that, okay? All right. So you want to make a discussion point here?
No, I think, as we have discussed it, we should narrow the list and continue the research on the finalists.
Okay, so what's the narrow?
I think 3 would be appropriate.
Okay, let me rephrase my question. I'm not a good lawyer. Which 3 or 4 is it that you want to bring in?
I think we should do it as we do board appointments and let everybody pick their 3, and then the 3 that garner the highest votes move on to round 2.
Okay. You got a piece of paper?
I'm ready.
You want to fail this one first, and then?
Yeah, let's do that, then come back, because that's going to make it too.
Okay, so I have my hand up. Can I respond to this on the
Yeah.
table? Okay, I'm actually fine with the staff continuing with the process, and coming back to us with recommendations. So, you know, I don't particularly need to be truly hands-on, so that's sort of where I am as a
Well,
comment.
Yeah, the staff gave you their breakdown of each one of them, so I think now it's, they give you the breakdown of what they found for each one, so now it's incumbent upon you, the city council, to make your choice. So,
Then I would need
saying
more.
go back to the staff is not the proper procedure.
Okay, so the fact that I've read pros and cons, just so that I'm clear, and I did that, and so now, based on that, we either move forward or create an additional process. I'm just trying to, because I read all that, but I still need some more clarity
Well,
from the
either
staff.
for that,
Okay.
I don't know how much more clarity they can give you other than you read the same thing they read and come up with the pros and cons that you read in the process, because, you know, they haven't done any interviews or anything like that any more than you've done already, or you've been had access to already.
Okay, and then my only other question would be is, I read the pros and cons. Is there a recommendation from that?
No, ma'am.
Their recommendation is, here's what we found when we read the RFPs,
Yep,
and this is now up to you to make the decision,
got it.
okay?
Yep.
All right, so now we're gonna talk about resolution 32-21, and this is to award the communications bid, so, you wanna call the roll?
Did you want to pick one? Do you think there's 4 votes for any individual vendor? That would negate having to go to round 2? Because if there are, if the
I don't
majority,
know.
if there's a vote for 4,
Somebody has to make a motion to
Some-
approve
yeah.
one, and everybody has to support it.
So we can call the roll on resolution 3221 to award, and if you have a vendor that you would like to award it to, we'll vote for it. If we get a majority, that vendor wins the contract.
So that would be a single vendor, or you could vote no.
Correct.
Yep.
Mr. Rich,
No.
No, he said no.
Mr. Barker,
No.
Dr. Houghton,
No.
Mr. Farley,
no.
Ms. Ray,
No.
Mr. Grooms.
No.
Mayor Goodwin.
Yes.
Which
Tim.
one?
It fails.
We voted yes, which
It
one?
don't matter, it fails.
Well, which one would you have picked?
Which one will I pick? I don't have to tell you because it fails. This is like, I don't have to, you didn't call me.
You can't vote yes on the whole
So-
thing.
Okay, well, I can pick one very easily. Mark me in the line.
So we'll notify all the bidders that no one was selected for the award, and we'll move forward from there.
Okay, but now, to move forward, well, you have the crew here, I need a motion for which 3, 4, whatever it is they need to bring in or zoom in for another round, for an interview round, is what it sounded like, where they actually talk to people versus just a piece of paper.
So moved.
Second. So do you need a more formal?
We just shot down the ordinance. So I'm trying to get a point of clarification here. We just shot down the resolution.
That was
Now
the-
we're going back and making motions about it, but we just shot it
No,
down.
you're making a motion about which ones you wanna bring in for a final interview.
But we're doing it after we shot the resolution now, does that not
You shot the
matter?
resolution now was to award a bid. You're not awarding a bid now. You're bringing people in for an interview to get to the next step, which would be a resolution to award a bid.
Okay.
It's completely different in this resolution here. The only thing about this resolution and that is the names are on the resolution.
I wouldn't say it's completely different, because then, I mean, it's a related issue, right?
Well, it's
It needs to
related,
be
but-
on the agenda, so I think it's sufficiently related.
I think so too.
Okay. I'm sorry, Jim, but I mean, that's,
It's okay, but that hurt my feelings.
Yeah, the discussion of this is on the agenda, so.
that's what I agree.
Should we clarify as part of that motion, the number? You said 3 or 4?
Well, I'm waiting to hear how many you
I
want.
think up to 3. If you
Up
want
to
to do less than
3.
3, you can do less than 3, but up to a maximum of 3.
So Mr. Pope's gonna call your name out, and you can, vote on up to 3 people to bring in for a discussion, or zoom in, or however,
And in the end, you bring in the top 3.
yeah.
Or no, where you don't have any preference.
So if there's a councilman who's already made up his mind for just one candidate, he's not forced to pick 2 others. He can just
pick one.
Just pick one. Or you can pick 3 that you'd like to hear from, and in the end, the top 3 would continue on to round 2.
Or none. I mean, okay, but
All right. So, Mr. Grooms,
Jesse James, creative. That's it.
Ms. Brett,
Jesse James Creative and Department of Civic Things.
Hey,
Mr. Farley,
Department of Civil Things and Marketing Alliance.
Dr. Houghton,
None.
Mr. Barker,
Marketing Alliance and Jesse James.
Mr. Rich,
None.
Mayor Goodwin.
I get to choose 2, 3, so it would be all 3 that's been voted for.
Good.
You'll bring those 3 in.
The top 3 candidates selected for further information are Marketing Alliance, Jesse James Creative, and the Department of Civic Things. Civic Things.
So you'll send them a note, all right. Now to go along with that, don't get too comfortable yet. You need some dates for a meeting, because you're gonna have to have a meeting, it's gonna have to be advertised for all y'all to come in and sit down and, or. So, August the 27th, or that would be a Friday, August the 27th.
Sorry, Mayor, what is this for?
This is to set a meeting to give these people time enough to come in, because you're gonna have to have a meeting notice set out, because you're gonna have everyone available for a meeting that wants to be here to talk about it. So I would say August the 26th, which is a Thursday, August the 27th, which is a Friday, or August the 30th, which is a Monday. And that gives them the 27th, basically 2 weeks to get ready, to get somebody on their schedule.
Are we gonna try to do this virtually with them, with the companies? Yeah, okay.
I think that would probably be the easiest way to
Yeah,
do it,
yeah.
especially since most of them are somewhere else.
I'll say the 26th, Thursday,
26th.
for me.
26 works for me.
Same.
Ms. Houghton?
I'm probably not gonna be directly involved.
Well, you're gonna be directly involved one way or the other at the end if you're gonna vote.
Right, so,
Mr. Rich,
Doesn't matter.
26?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. So the next meeting will be August the 26th, at what time is good? It would have to be during their working hours, I would say. And how long do you want to talk to each person,
And
each group?
I'm not sure which bidders, but I know we have some on the West Coast, so
Yeah,
later in the day for us.
right.
And anytime before 4, 3?
We'll start at 1. If we have anybody interested in one to start with, and then work our way across. How long do y'all think y'all need to talk to each group, each individual group?
30 minutes, maybe? 45.
45.
So you schedule an hour apart? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, basically?
First time we'll call, when we finish with one, we'll call the second. And they can be on standby for a window of 20 minutes. Or not.
So is 1 PM a good start time to advertise that meeting?
Yeah. Okay, so it'll be August 26th, beginning at 1. And you'll put out who's gonna be first and second and third, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Rich, any council comments?
No, sir.
Mr. Barker?
Everyone have a wonderful Labor Day holiday and the unofficial end of summer.
The Sandspur is promoting Labor Day and the Labors of Love on Folly Beach. So we can look forward to folks having photographs that do Labors of Love and promoting that theme for the September Sandspur and the Civic Club. And the mayor and staff will be giving their presentation for our first meeting,
When was that?
September 21st.
You better send us all a note.
Okay.
In the time.
Okay. Got it.
Mr. Farley?
Blood drive next Wednesday, August the 18th, 9 to 2, and it'll be at the Tides. You can sign up for available slots online. That's all.
I have no comments.
No comments?
Bill beat me to the blood drive, so, a blessed Rosh Hashanah, Tuesday, September 2nd.
Okay, I will remind everybody that August the 25th is Surface Healing. It's all, pretty much, all-day affair. If you haven't seen it before, you need to go out and see it. It's a great job those guys do, and they come from all over the world to do the service for autistic folks. A motion to adjourn?
At least they give it back.
Yeah, kind of melting.
So it'll take 1 second for Wes to go out.
I don't want